Hi, everybody. Welcome to Saturday Live at the Backyard Bird Center. Today's topic is about bird seed choices, and that is, what are the advantages and disadvantages of a seed mix over a solo seed? There's lots of ways to think about this, but basically we're going to cover the simplicity. If you want, keep your choices as simple as possible. We're going to talk a bit about nutritional value and nutritional diversity for birds. We're going to talk a little bit about discouraging certain species. And one of the things that drives this conversation most of the time is seed tossing, how to either prevent or cut down on the annoying habit of seed tossing. So first off, if you want to keep it simple, first thing, the best seed that you can possibly get that appeals to most birds more than any other kind of birds is just straight black oil sunflower seed. Very high in fat, very high in oil. It is very good for birds, and in all seed testing studies they've done, it is the number one choice by the greatest number of species there are when it comes to feeder stations. So if you're a person who wants it simple, then just stick with black oil sunflower seed and you'll be good. It's just a great choice there. Now, remember that birds only get about 15% of their daily diet from bird feeders. So it's not like just giving them black oil sunflower is robbing them of other nutritions that they need, because they are constantly eating berries and wild seeds and insects and things they can find in the wild. You're just one stop on their feeding regimen. Now, of course, whenever conditions get really harsh and snow cover and things like that, they'll maybe eat more than 15% in a day because of the availability of your seed. But for the most part, you're not really robbing them of too much by just giving them black oil. That being said, a good seed mix, which has lots of different seeds in it, something like my Boardwalk blend, it's got a lot of black oil sunflower because it is the best seed, but it's also Nutrisaf and striped sunflower and peanuts in there. And that does give them nutritional variety, and it also gives them choices, because not all birds, black oil is their favorite. They may prefer the Nutrisaf over it, or of course blue jays and titmice and things like that love the peanuts to grab out of here. So by giving a seed mix that has a diverse amount of seed, you're going to meet your goal if your goal is attracting the greatest variety of birds. And that is a big goal among most people. So the benefit here is that you are fulfilling nutritionally, and you're also attracting a lot of different birds. What's the negative of feeding this versus feeding the solo seed of black oil? Not all birds, like I said, like the same seed. So you're going to have in a seed mix, you're going to have certain birds push some seeds out of the way and select for others, and then another bird comes in and does the same thing. The best example I can give you of this was when I first opened the business 20 years ago, and I first did the formula for my Boardwalk blend. I had 5% white proso millet in there. And white proso millet is an accepted seed, and birds do eat it. But what I found when I fed this more and more, and I really watched my feeders, is I saw a lot of seed tossing. And when I watched it closer, the house sparrows were the main culprit, and they were kicking out the safflower and even the sunflower and everything to get to the white proso millet. And they also preferred to feed off the ground, so a lot of times they were just throwing the millet on the ground, and they were just creating a mess under my feeders. Now, yes, there's birds on the ground eating that, but a lot of it does go to waste, especially in snow conditions or in rain. It gets wet really fast, and the birds can't eat it. So it was a real problem. So what I did was I took the millet completely out of this mix, and I created my own millet mix called Ground Throw. And it is almost all millet with a little bit of sunflower, a little bit of safflower, but that's to take care of those ground feeders. It really cut down tremendously on the seed tossing with the Boardwalk blend, because the millet wasn't in there to cause the problem, if you will. Now, a good example too is in my open trays. I always say that whenever mourning doves, 3 or 4 mourning doves would land on the tray, they would pick out all the safflower. And then next thing you know, the tray was very black because it had all the sunflower left. Well, if certain birds come in, like a flock of sparrows and just mixed chickadees and things like that, that are picking out the sunflower, the tray gets very white because those birds don't favor safflower like mourning doves do. So you'll get some of that whenever you're feeding a seed mix as well. But the diversity is important. And Ruth and I were talking just before we went on live about her feeders and my feeders, and then say one of the things that can help you if seed tossing is still an issue for it is some feeders are better at preventing seed tossing because they don't give broad areas for the birds to sweep back and forth. Blue jays, oh my gosh, blue jays love those peanuts, and they'll just kick everything out of the way to pick out a peanut or two. So in tube feeders, it's harder for them to do that than it is into an open tray. If you have a big open tray, a little bit higher sides will help you than low sides because it's harder for the seed to get tossed and over the edges of it. So there are ways to help with that seed tossing, but it is something that it really is best solved by just feeding simple, straight seeds. One of our anti-blackbird videos and anti-blackbird formulas is, of course, feeding a lot of safflower. Blackbirds don't like it, squirrels don't like it, the house sparrows don't like it. But if you mix safflower with sunflower, like in your other blends, and blackbirds come in, they're going to throw every bit of that safflower out of the way to pick through and get those sunflowers and peanuts. And so if you got a feeder you just want for your cardinals, and this about 2 days ago for a customer that was in this situation, an open tray with just straight safflower in it is wonderful. Your cardinals love it, the blackbirds don't like it, the squirrels don't like it, and it is a problem-solving event. But remember, if you mix it together, and those blackbirds, common grackle especially, if they can find one sunflower seed in that feeder, then they're going to come back and it's full of safflower. They're going to toss it out a couple of times to try to find that one more sunflower seed in there. So a solo seed like safflower and sunflower fed by itself can really cut down on that. Does it sacrifice your nutritional value? A little bit. Does it cut down on maybe the diversity of birds at your feeders? Yes, if you only fed just straight safflower and you didn't feed any other kind of seed at your feeders, then yes, you probably would have less diversity than your neighbor that's feeding a good mix. So there are pros and cons to just about every kind of feeding there is. So you have to weigh out what your priorities are. Do you want the greatest diversity of birds? Do you want less mess? Do you want simplicity? There's lots of different ways to go about it. Myself, I like the most variety of birds, and I like to know that I'm providing the greatest nutritional value I can for my birds to help them through harsh conditions. So that's a really good idea for a program. I really appreciate that suggestion. Please send in more if you will. Give us a like, give us a share. For you on YouTube, please subscribe. Until then, come on, let's talk birds.